Recording in progress.
Well, hello and welcome back. My name is Fee Rye. I have a business called My Days of Health, and this is my podcast called Health Inside and Out. If we have not met before, thank you very much for coming along and joining this podcast today. And if we have met before, welcome back. I am a fitness professional, a qualified nutritionist, and a lifestyle medicine practitioner. And my podcast is about all the things that I love to talk about and what I find interesting. And I take the science and the research because I do spend a little bit of time in the research land. If you could see how many tabs were open to different research papers, you'd probably just think I'm crazy. But I do love to learn. And the best way to cement my knowledge is to teach it. And so I decided that this podcast was the right place to do that. Today, we are going to talk about magnesium. I've called it magnesium magic. Now, of course, it's not magical, but it does some amazing things in our body. It is a mineral that is often overlooked, but it is vital to nearly every system in our body. And if you look at the Australian Bureau of Statistics, you'll see that Aussies actually have a magnesium deficiency, which is interesting. However, not surprising when you realize where it comes from and the sorts of foods that we are just not eating. In earlier podcasts, I've talked about the fact that less than 6% of Australians consume 2 fruits and 5 vegetables a day. And that breaks my heart because it's not hard. We just need to get on top of it. Let's talk about magnesium. So it's actually essential for over 300 biochemical processes in your body, 300. And that includes energy production, muscle and nerve function, and bone health. And, you know, the study's actually saying that nearly 35% of Australian adults have a magnesium intake below the estimated average requirement. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the deficiency is even more pronounced in women over 40. And that can be due to a number of issues, particularly around peri and postmenopause, increased stress, dietary changes that come with that phase of life, just because the body seems to be out of whack. So magnesium deficiency doesn't just impact the physical health, though. It also affects mental health. And this is really important to note because our mental health in this country and quite frankly globally, we actually do have a crisis. Younger and younger people are experiencing mental health issues. And research shows that magnesium deficiency is associated with an increased risk of anxiety and depression, but also ADHD, and for the peri and postmenopausal women, insomnia. Not just them, it's insomnia in general, but I do know that that is something that comes up a lot for women over 40 who are in the peri and postmenopausal stage. There was actually a meta-analysis, which means it's a big study of studies. And the study of studies studied 75 studies. So a meta-analysis of 75 studies that found that individuals with low magnesium levels were more likely to experience depressive symptoms. So it's all kind of adding up, right? We're not eating enough of the foods that magnesium is found in. Our mental health globally is declining. Our ADHD rates are increasing. And we've got a lot of people with insomnia. So you do the math. There's actually a study on children with ADHD that revealed that up to 95% of the participants were magnesium deficient. And with supplementation, they had some improvements in hyperactivity, attention span, and oppositional behavior. Now, me being the researcher, I will pop some information about those research papers into the comments for those of you who want to go down that rabbit hole and, like me, have a gazillion tabs open on research. So I want to talk about the role of magnesium, and I am going to focus a little bit on women's health because this is coming off the back of the hormonal harmony course that I've recently launched, and magnesium was a rabbit hole that I went down. So whilst I'm going to talk about women, a lot of this does cross over all populations. But let's start with bone health. For women in this peri-postmenopausal stage, our estrogen levels are dropping, or more particular, our estrogen level 2, so estradiol, is dropping during menopause, and our bone density decreases. Magnesium will help activate vitamin D, which is essential for calcium absorption. And low magnesium can impair that process, which increases the risk of osteoporosis. Okay, so let me repeat that. You need the magnesium to help activate the vitamin D. Where are we getting our vitamin D? Well, we are getting it from the sunshine. If we're getting it from food sources, mushrooms, mushroom powders, that's one source of vitamin D if you're taking that in nutritionally. Hormonal balance. Well, magnesium plays a really important role in regulating the stress hormone cortisol. I'm sure you've all heard of it. And when you're stressed and you have high cortisol levels, your magnesium levels deplete quite quickly. So that creates that cycle of stress and deficiency. And that can contribute to anxiety and fatigue. So increasing your magnesium, particularly when you are going through a stressful period, very, very important. Sleep and relaxation. So I talked about insomnia. So if you're struggling with sleep, magnesium really does support the production of melatonin. So melatonin is the hormone that regulates sleep. It also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps your body to relax. So parasympathetic, that's the good nervous system. I'm saying the other one's bad, but parasympathetic, the way I remember it is you think of a parachute that is coming down and it's going to help you land well, okay? Parasympathetic, we're getting that support for our nervous system. It's the one that we want to activate. Our sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight. And that is the one that a lot of us seem to be walking around in for most of our days. So we want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So magnesium is supporting the production of melatonin, and that is the hormone that regulates the sleep. So that's why magnesium is important for people who are struggling with insomnia. Mental health I've touched on, but magnesium is a cofactor in serotonin production. And serotonin is the neurotransmitter, which we refer to as the feel-good hormone. So when you have low magnesium levels, you can actually impair those serotonin synthesis. So that means serotonin is not being made, and that can actually potentially worsens the symptoms of anxiety and depression. So that's where it comes in for mental health. So we want to increase the serotonin production. So magnesium will help do that. And cardiovascular health, well, magnesium helps regulate blood pressure to maintain that healthy heart rhythm, making it a cornerstone for cardiovascular health. Now, postmenopausal women have an increase in heart disease for various reasons, but magnesium is important. So if we can get some magnesium into our bodies for all of those reasons, bones, hormones, insomnia, mental health, cardiovascular. Am I selling it to you yet? Well, I'm actually not even selling it. I just want you to make sure you're getting it. Magnesium deficiency can really go unnoticed because sometimes the symptoms can be subtle or sometimes just mistaken for other issues. So how do you know if you're magnesium deficient? Muscle cramps and spasms, that's the first one. That's probably the most common. Insomnia, definitely. Constipation can actually also be a signal that you have a magnesium deficiency. Fatigue and low energy, and of course the anxiety and depression, or perhaps it's hyperactivity. Going back to constipation, kids, if kids aren't eating enough fruits and vegetables and they're constipated, and maybe they're not sleeping so well, and maybe they're a little bit hyperactive, then perhaps we need to look at what they're eating in order to get enough magnesium. Now, the recommended dietary intake for magnesium, the RDI, according to the nutrient reference values, the NRVs for Australians and New Zealand's, range, as do most. So for men 19 to 30 years, it's 400 milligrams per day. If they're over 30, it's 420 milligrams per day. Women 19 to 30, it's 310 milligrams per day. If they're over 30, it's 320 milligrams per day. But if they're pregnant, it can go up to 360 milligrams per day, depending on their age. If they're lactating, it drops back to that 310, 320. But here's what's interesting. Our adolescent boys, 14 to 18 years, they need 410 milligrams. The girls need about 360 milligrams. Okay, but here is an important thing to note. Getting your magnesium from your food is where we want you to get your magnesium from. If you start supplementing with magnesium, you need to make sure that you are not overdosing more than 300 or so milligrams a day, because supplementing with magnesium can have the potential for gastrointestinal side effects, particularly diarrhoea. So supplementing definitely has its place, but let's look at dietary sources first. Okay, so if you've listened to any of my podcasts, you'll know that I am going to bang on about fruits and vegetables. Where do we find magnesium? Leafy greens, spinach, kale, chard. I am a huge fan of my leafy greens coming from yam leaves. So easy to grow them in the backyard. I have this permanent source out the back. Nuts and seeds, almonds, pumpkin seeds, pepitas, sunflower seeds, chia seeds. Okay, throwing these into your salads, cooking them tossing them into your stir fries, particularly your pumpkin and your sunflower seeds. Chia seeds, you can make chia puddings. You can do all sorts of things with chia seeds. Whole grains, you want to be looking at quinoa, brown rice, and oats. Very good source of magnesium. Legumes, black beans, chickpeas, lentils, fish. So a word on fish, know where it's coming from, know what else is in your fish. Obviously, fresh is best, but just know where you are getting it from and do your own research into fish farming if you're buying it commercially, and have a look at the nutritional panel that is on the fish that you're buying if you are buying it from the supermarkets. Okay, you also want to consider any heavy metals that could be in the fish. So talk to your local fishmonger. That would be my advice. Get to know your local fishmonger and find out what's fresh and where it's coming from. And of course, the other wonderful place to get some magnesium is dark chocolate and cacao. I am a huge cacao fan. It's very rich in magnesium, and you can drink it, you can chew it, you can add it into recipes, it's very versatile. And cacao into your smoothies, cacao as a hot drink, cacao into a mousse or a fudge. There's lots of ways that you can use cacao, but it is very rich in magnesium. So that's another fun place to get your magnesium from. But soil depletion does have an aspect to the magnesium content, and so that's something else to consider. Even with your fresh fruits and vegetables, with your leafy greens, honestly, try and grow them yourself, because then you know what's in the soil. You can get some organic potting mix and grow your own spinach and kale. It's a great way to be able to walk out to the garden, pick up some greens and some herbs maybe, and use them in your cooking or your salads. So as I said, I did touch there early on supplementation, but really you need to make sure that you are not overdosing, and always consult with your healthcare provider before you're starting an isolated supplement like magnesium. Magnesium glycinate is very bioavailable. It's highly bioavailable, and it's gentle on the stomach, and it's a good choice. But again, maybe just check where your levels are first before you start doing isolated supplementation. In all honesty, just start eating some of those foods so that you can get your minerals and your vitamins in naturally. Now, magnesium works really, really well with some nutrients, particular calcium, so it's good for our bones. Vitamin D, also good for our bones, and omega-3s. So when you are combining it with your omegas, it does wonderful things because it can enhance anti-inflammatory effect, which supports joint and heart health. So magnesium and omegas are very good friends. So let's start your day with a green smoothie. Put some spinach and chia seeds and maybe some almond butter into your smoothie. Maybe a little bit of cacao in there as well. So the chocolate milkshake for breakfast without the milk. You can use almond milk. Okay, that's another way to add in that little bit of extra magnesium. You can have some cacao at night, boost those magnesium levels and promote the relaxation, bringing in that serotonin, and helping with insomnia. Epsom salt baths. If you have been a while since you've had one, go and try it. Or even putting Epsom salt into a foot soak is really good because magnesium will absorb through your skin. It's our biggest organ. So you can not only relax in the tub, but get those benefits of the magnesium. And snack on a little bit of magnesium-rich food, almonds or dark chocolate or the cacao. So please remember, magnesium is more than a supplement. I don't want you to just go away and go and buy some magnesium supplements. I want you to have a look at how you can fit some of those foods I've spoken about into your life so that your body can pull apart all of the goodness out of those foods and draw out what it needs, particularly around the magnesium and fiber. So I hope that's helped. It's been another longer version of my podcast today. You can tell I'm a little bit passionate about magnesium. So have a think about who needs magnesium in your life and how you can increase that. Thank you for joining me. If you've learnt something today, then that makes me happy. And if you can think of someone who might need to hear this, please do share. And while you're here, it'd be really good if you could subscribe because I'm just starting out. And so if you subscribe, you'll get to find out if I'm doing some more. So thank you for joining my podcast, and I hope to see you back here again.